It is officially game week, everybody. Welcome in to GC Live here on Gamecock Central. Kendall Smith and Jack Veltri joining you here. And Jack, it feels amazing to say that. It feels so good to say that. Game week, how we doing?
I am doing great, Kendall. It's like you said, the weather's so much nicer. It's feeling like football season. We're finally at the end of God-forsaken talking season. So we are getting close to the end, and I'm really looking forward to it now. 4 days away from kickoff in Atlanta on Sunday. South Carolina football season is upon us.
South Carolina, Virginia Tech this Sunday, 3 o'clock from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. And I know all of you are so excited. Jack and I love this time of year because we finally get to talk X's and O's. We finally get to talk football. We get to discuss what we think will happen this week, what Shane Beamer talked about, what's going on with Rasul Faison. There's just so much. So I think we should start there, Jack, because that has been the key of our entire show for the last, however many months, 9 months. We've talked about Rasul Faison so much. And finally, this week, he was cleared by the NCAA to play. He will play for South Carolina on Sunday. This has been a long time coming. Where were you, Jack, when the news dropped, and what was your reaction?
Well, for a little bit of backstory, I had probably just finished about an hour before we found out the news. I had written a story with some quotes from Shane Beamer last week about what the plan at running back is if Faison's not cleared. Story's all done. It's scheduled for like 5:30, whatever. We don't think Faison's getting cleared anytime soon. And then, of course, we get the text in our group chat that there's been a report that Faison's cleared probably around like 4:30. So I had to scrap that story immediately, wrote a better one about the reactions from everyone about Faison getting cleared. But I was here in my apartment, probably about where I am right now, just sitting here. And I'm glad he got cleared. Finally, almost 9 months too late, to be honest. But you know what? They got it done. The NCAA finally cleared Rasul Faison before the season starts. It's not about free Sewell anymore. Sewell is free. He's ready to go, and we actually got to speak to him a little bit today in media, so he's very excited. Shane Beamer's excited. Everyone is ready to see him go out there and run the football for the Gamecocks on Sunday.
Cannot wait, and the social media video that dropped was incredible. The reaction was amazing. I think everyone was just able to collectively, just sigh this huge breath of relief. And the way that it happened, being so close to the season opener, is unbelievable. But at this point, it is done, and he is cleared, and he is good to play, and we are good to go. So what's past is past. But the way that took so long, everybody in Gamecock Nation was obviously rightfully so stressed out about it. But it's all good. Week of, we get clearance, and Rasul Faison will play for South Carolina. Yes, the video on X was great.
It was a great video. So,
yeah. Fantastic work by South Carolina social team, the compliance department. Shane Beamer gave them a shout out today when he spoke. Just great stuff all around. And we're going to get into talking about what Shane Beamer said. But top of the show, we had to bring it up because this was our number one most asked question of the summer. I would get DMs about it. Jack, I know you would too. We get asked about it on the show, asked about it in person, constantly 24/7. When is Rasul Faison going to hear back from the NCAA? Finally heard back this week. And it was the good news that South Carolina needed. But before we go any further, Jack, let's give a shout out to our presenting sponsor of the show.
Absolutely. So if you guys are watching live right now, you're going to see his information above us here on screen. But if you're just listening and you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm referring to Clint Hammond of CMG Home Loans. There's no better time to buy a home than right now. Well, maybe just any time in general, quite honestly. But if you are in the market to buy that home, maybe you're like me living in an apartment right now, but maybe you're more so ready than I am to go out there and buy a home, you got to go to Clint. He's going to take you through the process step by step and help you out along the way because we all know that it can be a very complicated process for us normal people. For a guy like Clint, he'll help you out. He's been in the mortgage industry for more than 20 years. He's a lifelong Gamecock fan, and he's also a longtime supporter of GamecockCentral.com. So you know you're in the right hands with one of the best in the business with a guy like Clint. If you're interested, give him a call, 803-422-6797. The NMLS number for him is You can also go to ClintHammond.com for more info. And again, he will help you out with your housing needs, your mortgage needs, anything you need on the housing side of things. He'll be the guy to help you out.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Clint. As always, so great to start off another football season with Clint supporting us. I want to talk to this guy right here. Shane Beamer will not be on the show. So you can go see what he had to say, the full video from earlier today. That is over on the Gamecock Athletics YouTube page. It's on GamecockCentral.com as well. But this is Jack and I talking about what Shane Beamer had to say. I think the title may have been a bit misleading.
Maybe a little. I was just typing this up before the press conference, and I guess it is a little misleading. Again, Shane, he previewed today, but we're going to talk about it. So
exactly. Unfortunately, Shane Beamer will not be joining the show. I do think he has a couple of other things to worry about right now.
Yeah,
although
probably.
He did say today is their Tuesday. This is South Carolina's Tuesday because obviously things pushed back a day with playing on Sunday. And we talk about Rasul Faison finally getting clearance from the NCAA. How much, Jack, do you think he will impact this group right off of the bat? Like, can you overemphasize how important this was for South Carolina to ultimately make sure he was cleared and eligible to play this season?
Yeah, so number one, it's a really big deal for South Carolina that Rasul Faison gets cleared. Like, for me, I don't know how you feel about this, Kendall, but I honestly feel like I look at South Carolina as probably like an 8 or 9 win team this season. I can see a way in which they certainly get to 10 wins now just because they have a guy like Rasul out there. You watch his highlight tape and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like the way he's able to – he's not the fastest guy in that running back room probably, but he's probably like one of the smarter guys in that group just because of his field vision. He sees the field really well to where he's able to – break out of any potential tackles. He's able to find the right gap to go through, and he just keeps those legs churning and keep them moving. So he's doing a really good job, it seems like, from everything that we've heard out of practice, and I'm excited to see him out there on Sunday. As far as what that could mean with having him back for this season, you do wonder how exactly South Carolina is going to divvy up the reps in the running back room. We do not have a depth chart. There is no depth chart put out by Shane Beamer in South Carolina. We will get into that here in a few minutes, as Shane did explain why today that is. But one can imagine it'd be crazy if Rasul Faison, a guy that rushed for 1,100 yards last year at Utah State, the guy that is brought in to replace Rocket Sanders and his production from last year, one can figure he'd probably be getting the most touches this season for the Gamecocks, and that all starts on Sunday.
Yeah, we got to talk about the depth chart a little bit here. And yes, I agree with everything that you said about Rasul Faison, just what we've seen from him in the past and what he could bring to this program. It is a game changer, and South Carolina certainly needed something like that. And I think he is the kind of player that really can elevate your team. Like you mentioned, Jack, from 8, 9 wins to even that 10-win mark. And that's why this was so important for South Carolina. That's why this has been the point of emphasis all summer long. It wasn't just because we were dramatic and wanted to have something to talk about. It's because this genuinely was something that really could define South Carolina for this season and have a massive impact on the group and its overall record. But we talk about a guy like Rasul getting the majority of the touches. We also have to talk about the fact that there is not a depth chart right now. So you obviously assume that Rasul Faison will start. You obviously assume that Lenora Sellers will start. And I think we know those things, like those are clear and obvious to everybody, but a lot of other positions up for grabs. In fact, when Shane Beamer was asked about it, how many starting spots are still up for grabs, he said all of them.
Well, he clarified afterwards that like Lenora Sellers is going to be your starting quarterback. But like besides that, like he said it would be very hypocritical of him to say that there are X amount of position battles still going on when one of the core values of this program is that they compete every single day. So he's staying true to that. And so, yeah, look, we don't have a depth chart. That's something we've been getting every single year, to my knowledge, that I've been on the beat. So it's a little bit of a change, to be honest. Now, there's a reason why there's no depth chart. So number one, he said there's not any gamesmanship about it. He called Brent Pry last week, the Virginia Tech head coach, to let him know that he wasn't going to release a depth chart just so That way, when Virginia Tech, like, for instance, put out their depth chart, it's not like they're wondering, oh, why isn't South Carolina putting out a depth chart? That's kind of Bush League, if you ask me. We know that was not the case. We know that Shane let him know in advance, and then Virginia Tech obviously still put out their depth chart. He just didn't want Pride to feel like he's getting blindsided or anything. But he also wanted to avoid any unnecessary overreactions. What exactly does that mean? I think we would see a lot of oars on the depth chart as usual, and I think we also would probably overreact to, oh, why isn't this guy starting? Why isn't, like, for instance, what if Rasul Faison is listed as like an oar with like Oscar Attaway for the top running back spot? Like why is that the case? Things like that. So it's just to avoid all of that. And like you said, there are still a ton of position battles actually being decided. So. I think that's kind of summing up what the deal is with the depth chart. And one other thing here, what time is Beamer coming on? Again, let's just preface this one last time. For anyone just joining now, Shane Beamer is not coming on the show. That is, again, I should have probably done a better job of putting the headline in. But again, typically that's how we do it during the week, is that Shane Beamer talks blah, 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 this opponent, that opponent. I think we've always done. I think Wes and Chris are typically the guys that have been to go live right after Beamer talks. So my apologies for the seemingly misleading headline. However, there is a Beamer clickbait. Okay. You know what? I'm sorry to cause the clickbait, rage bait. You know what? I'm glad we're just talking about it anyway. But Beamer's not coming on, and Beamer's interview, it is on Gamecocks Online. I don't believe
it's not on the YouTube page yet, but it will be.
It will be.
He only talked a couple hours ago, not even.
Yeah, and on GamecockCentral.com, I did the live updates from the Beamer press conference today. Go ahead and check those out if you want. There will be a full transcript up of what Beamer had to say later on tonight. So that will be up when I get around to doing it today. And then also in that live updates, I did post the link to the live press conference with Beamer if you want to go watch that. So apologies again that Shane Beamer is not joining us. I'd love for that to be the case. But again, you can go check it out on YouTube when that is posted. So
yeah, South Carolina.
Last time I'm talking about that.
South Carolina Gamecocks YouTube, Gamecock Central will post it as well. That should be up here soon, and you can see everything that Shane Beamer had to say. But right now, we are just talking about what he said during his preview a little bit earlier today. And we were talking about the depth chart. And Jack, that's always been something that has been expected week in, week out. Obviously, we're not getting it here this week. Do you anticipate that will be the trend for the season?
I thought about that today when he kind of spoke about it, because he brought up the fact that Clemson and Georgia didn't do a depth chart reveal when they played in this very game last year. Now, I'm not sure. I haven't had the time to look it up yet. I don't know if they released a depth chart in the weeks to follow, but I think because it's the opening kickoff game, maybe they just wanted to do something different. I'm not sure. I don't know if that means we're not getting one every single week. I would hope that's not the case. I would like to get one instead of, because again, Shane mentioned it, when we're at the stadium on Sunday, we will see what the starting lineups basically look like when they're going through warm-ups. And he even referenced when they go through their field goal kicking right before during warm-ups, right before the game, that will be their starting holder, their long snapper, their kicker, all that stuff. So it makes it a little tougher for us to kind of figure out who's starting when it's 15 minutes before the game, and you got to kind of really, really hone in and pay attention to that. But again, he did say he doesn't want to make our jobs harder in the media, and honestly for the fans too. But I understand it. I understand you don't want to really give anyone an edge. I mean, a lot of teams seemingly do this now.
Well, someone that we do expect to have a big impact with this group this season is Nick Harbor. And Shane Beamer had a little bit to say about him earlier today, he said he's so much further along this year than he was last year. And he said the biggest thing he's noticed is that he's just having a lot more fun. I think that's music to a lot of people's ears. People very excited to see what Nick Harbor can do from an offensive standpoint this year for South Carolina. And they're expecting him to be a massive part of this offense, a big target for Lenora Sellers. So to hear that come out of Shane Beamer's mouth, that is very encouraging for Gamecock fans, Jack.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's definitely encouraging to hear just how much Nick has come along again. If you have been living under a rock for the last few months, Harbor did skip the indoor and outdoor track season to focus solely on football for this year. So he went through spring practice for the first time with the Gamecocks, went through a full summer. So he's ready to go. He's feeling very good. We actually talked to Nick a little bit today. He's feeling very good about where he's at going to the year. Luke Doty, who we also spoke to today, South Carolina's sixth year. I think it's like sixth year. Yeah, he's been with the program for ages at this point. He spoke today about how Harbor reminds him of Xavier Leggett with the steps that he took forward to become the receiver that he did in his fifth and final season back in 2023. So it's good to hear there's so much positive buzz about Nick, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he's going to look as the season begins on Sunday, because again, there were some good things that he did last year.
Well, we talk about targets for Lenora Sellers. Do you think that Nick Harbor will kind of be that guy this season? Is it too early to tell? I mean, obviously, we're expecting a big leap from him this year, but you also have other guys that are a part of this offensive group. Mazio Bennett, who we're expecting a lot from this season. There's a lot of freshman receivers that Shane Beamer talked a little bit about today, too, saying, yeah, there's obviously still more work to be done with these freshmen, but he feels good about where they are. So who do you kind of think will be that guy, for lack of a better term, for Lenora Sellers this season?
Ooh, that's a good question, because Josh Simon was the guy that he loved throwing to last year, and he's gone. So you got to find someone new to replace him with. That's a great question, Kendall. I don't know. I'm gonna go with Harbor just because of all the good things we've heard about him. But quite honestly, and Shane even mentioned it a little bit today, like, don't be surprised if you see a couple or maybe a bunch of those freshman receivers out there playing. I really am high on Brian Rowe and the things that we continue to hear about him. Like, he's being name dropped by guys in media availability today when media is asking, who are the freshman receivers that are sticking out, or who is the freshman receiver that's sticking out? A lot of these guys are bringing up Brian Rowe. And I wrote a story on that on GC last week, just asking different guys about what sticks out about him. He's twitchy, he's athletic, he's quick. Like, if a defender's a step behind him, he's gone. So there's a lot of positive buzz about Brian Rowe, that he had a good spring game. He seemingly had a very good impression in fall camp. I wonder now how that translates over to the start of the season. Don't forget about another guy like Donovan Murph, who a lot of people are high on as well.
Jack, we know offensively South Carolina has a ton of talent. I mean, we know across the board South Carolina has a lot of talent. I think people are the least worried about the offense. I would just say as a whole, you have Lenora Sellers coming back, and you have a couple of key components from that group last year. Defensively, South Carolina had to fill a lot of gaps from this past offseason. And then from a special team standpoint, I don't know, you might feel differently. You might be a little bit more concerned defensively. I think, the most concerned from a special team standpoint, just because I don't know. Shane Beamer talked about it a little bit today. There are a lot of people that had to step in there and kind of, again, fill these roles. So how are you feeling special teams wise?
Yeah, and this is a great point here brought up by Garnet Yardbird, that I was bringing the good questions at the press. I appreciate that. I did ask today, actually, bringing that up, because I did ask straight up, like, I knew Shane wasn't going to get into the whole depth chart thing and naming starters today or anything, but I did ask, like, okay, like, if instead of asking that straight up, how is that coming along? Like, do you feel like you have an answer to those specialist questions about who's going to win those position battles, and how do you feel about overall? And he said he feels a lot better about it now than he did on August 1st. He would like to see the kickers, be a little bit better. He specifically said he wished they kicked a little bit better on Monday, but he still remains confident about them going into the season. He likes where they are just overall on special teams, including like the kick returning, the punt returning, just the coverage in general. But he just wants to see more consistency. So that's the main thing. But he's very confident that will be the case heading into the year.
Well, we will see how it all shakes out. We, though, need to talk about this weekend a little bit. We're talking about the team, but let's kind of dial in to this weekend. Before we do, though, Jack, we have a couple of other sponsors to say thank you to.
Yes. So let's start off by talking about, we got two here. Let's talk about Palmetto Golf and Belts. So if you love golf, you need to check out Palmetto Golfing for the latest custom made gear. Again, that's palmettogolfing.com. If you do not play golf, don't worry. Palmetto Golf and Belts is a great place to go grab a gift for that favorite golfer in your life. They've got custom golf gloves, custom golf tees, custom golf towels. They have a lot of custom stuff, as you can see, all available in the South Carolina garnet, the cross design, the palmetto tree and the moon design, and so much more. One of the coolest things about them is the needle point belts, which are extremely well made, but also affordable that many of the others on the market, have. So Palmetto Golf and Belts is operated by Brandon Cohn, a big South Carolina fan, and also a longtime member over at GC. Our members on the Insiders Forum are loving the products that Brandon has in his brand new shop, and he runs special deals all the time. So be sure to head over to palmettogolfing.com and check out his shop, support a South Carolina fan and GamecockCentral.com member, and go get yourself some gear. We're also going to talk about real quick Ferry Chevrolet. So if you're a South Carolina fan who's interested in a new or used vehicle, make sure you check out our friends over at Ferry Chevrolet out in Orangeburg. They're led by a fourth-generation dealer in Joseph Ferry. The family-owned business over at Ferry Chevrolet has been serving the community since 1926. It's conveniently located just off of I-26 between Columbia and Charleston. The folks over at Ferry Chevrolet are local, trustworthy, and always transparent. So the business began in St. Matthews and was built on honesty, integrity, and of course, a handshake. And they still operate with those same principles to this day. So like I said before, head on over to ferrychevrolet.com today to check out their inventory and to get in touch with those guys over there.
Okay, Jack, something that I want to talk about before we continue is a quote that I saw earlier today. So Adam Rittenberg, he's a senior writer for ESPN. He put out an article, and it was Intel on college football's top 2025 quarterbacks. Did you see this article, Jack?
Oh, I saw Wes tweeted about it. So.
Yes. So Wes, and by the way, congratulations to Wes and his wife.
Yes.
Wes is a dad, Mackenzie's a mom. They welcomed their beautiful baby girl, Ansley Ann Mitchell, into the world last week. I'm so excited for them. They're seriously the best. So congratulations, Wes and Mackenzie. We're super happy for you. But Wes put out a tweet earlier today, which actually led me to this whole article and kind of going down the rabbit hole, if you will. So this is where SEC coaches talk about, quarterbacks anonymously, and their quotes are put in the article. So one SEC coach said of Lenoris Sellers, he got really hot down the stretch. He's such a big, imposing physical kid. Now can he take the next step in the throw game? And, he got some positive reviews from SEC coaches. Then there was another SEC coach that said, I can't get behind the Lenoris Sellers hype. He reminds me of Anthony Richardson, and I know Anthony Richardson went 4th overall in the NFL draft. Physically, he's a freak, but is he a great quarterback? So this was about Lenoris earlier today, and I don't want to, talk about it too much because it is what it is. These are anonymous coaches. We don't know who said what. People can guess. We will never know. It's anonymous. But what do you think about that last quote, Jack? What are your thoughts?
Oh, dear Lord. Sometimes I think people should not be allowed to speak. And this is one of those cases where, like Wes said on Twitter, what an absolute joke of a quote. I mean, what are we talking about here? Like, okay, you want to make the comparison to Anthony Richardson with the body type and the size, sure. But Anthony Richardson is completely different as a quarterback in terms of, number one, he should have never been drafted 4th overall by the Colts. Like, buying into Anthony Richardson when he, quite frankly, just did not have too much experience at Florida was a mistake that's obviously hurting the Colts to this day now in year 3, where he's not even the starter. He's losing a position battle to Daniel freaking Jones, the guy who got cut by the Giants last year. So
hey, my family are Colts fans.
Well, I feel real bad for you then.
I'm just a fan of my fantasy team. I've adopted that mentality now.
Look, I think look, it's a ridiculous quote. I'm glad it's anonymous because the person that would have said it, I mean, this guy the Big Red thinks it sounds like a vintage Lane Kiffin quote, which wouldn't surprise me. And again, if it were Lane, not saying it was, wouldn't surprise me if he says that, because again, Sellers didn't have the best game against Ole Miss last year, and quite frankly, no one from South Carolina did. So look, the fact that, like, yes, physically Lenore Sellers is a freak. You see him get sacked all the time. But is he a great quarterback? What are you talking about? What are we talking about? Did you not watch him at all last year? Did you not see the things that he can do? Tell me how many quarterbacks are able to go watch a Lenore Sellers highlight reel and tell me how many times that you see him break out of sacks, and tell me what quarterback in college football can go out there and do those types of things. Every now and then we see a special quarterback that can do that stuff, like a Johnny Manziel from his time at Texas A&M. And I think now, or Cam Newton as well, who's really compared to Sellers a lot, but we are seeing Sellers really do some special things, and it won't surprise me at all if he has a great season and potentially ends up in New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony.
Yeah, and a lot of people talking about Lenore's preseason for the Heisman conversation, and rightfully so, because he did finish last season so strong. I'm just kind of scrolling through the rest of this article. I think that was the most like brutal quote that any coach said anonymously about a player. Someone said of Cade Klubnik, he's good, but he ain't Trevor Lawrence. This was from an ACC coach. I don't think he's a first rounder. He's a good player, but if it's covered, he's not throwing it. He doesn't have the faith to do that. Brutal when you can be anonymous. I mean, oh my goodness, like this is craziness.
I'd love to know who said all this. Like, I'm not going to speculate on it. I'm not
More fuel
speculating
to the fire for Lenore Sellers. And something about him, and like we saw this last season, like the amount of people, and so many times I said this on the show, the amount of people who sat there at the beginning of the season and were like, Lenore Sellers is terrible. Lenore shouldn't be the starting quarterback. I'm so concerned about Lenore Sellers. And then we saw what happened. So he obviously doesn't take a lot of that to heart. He's very calm, very composed, very collected. That is something that I think is not talked about enough in terms of just who he is as a quarterback, as a person. Like those are just such strong qualities to have. So I don't think that this will bother him. It just adds maybe a little fuel to the fire. But it is certainly an interesting quote saying that you can't get behind the Lenore Sellers hype. Hopefully we're looking back on this show later on in the season, Jack, and we're laughing.
If this were something brought up going into last year, if this were said going into last year, okay, I think I could better understand it just because we hadn't seen what Lenore's is like that. Like when that last part, is he a great quarterback? Okay, sure, bring that up last year. But we've seen a year of him. What more do you need to see to make you feel like Lenore Sellers is just not a great quarterback, or you're even questioning it? I mean, again, this guy, it's no accident that all the expert NFL draft analysts have him going top 5 next year in mock drafts. Like if he were to declare, it's no coincidence that he's top 5 in the Heisman Trophy odds going into the season. Like, I don't get it. I would expect something like that from, like, I don't know, like, not to bash anyone, not that I've seen it, but like I would expect that from someone that like just it doesn't have their head on straight, or is like a media member that just has never seen Lenore Sellers play before. That wouldn't surprise me. But the fact that comes from a coach who has obviously probably played against Sellers, I mean, I don't know what we're talking about here. Like, Sellers is not perfect. Let's make that clear. There are some weaknesses there, but Sellers is a very good quarterback, and sure, he has a little bit of flaws, but he's very good, very, very good.
Fuel to the fire. That's all I can say. But when I saw the quote, I'm like, there's no way. Like, someone just made that up. Like, there's no way that an SEC coach actually said that. And then I went to the article, obviously on ESPN, so this is confirmed. And I'm like, oh, yeah, an SEC coach did actually say that. But regardless, Lenore Sellers will take to the field on Sunday, and he'll have a chance to prove everybody wrong. And we're all excited. Virginia Tech is obviously a very respected program, and Shane Beamer has his ties to Virginia Tech, as we all know very, very well about at this point. So, Jack, when you look at the matchup for this weekend, where do you think South Carolina stands against a team like Virginia Tech?
I think you got to be careful in a game like this because, Shane talked about it a little bit today that, game ones are always so tricky because it's not going to be perfect. There are going to be some kinks that you got to work out. And we saw this last year. We saw this last year against Old Dominion, where South Carolina was trailing in the fourth quarter, and then it took a late touchdown to win that game. And we saw 2 years ago against UNC in that game in Charlotte. South Carolina just did not look very sharp in that game. Obviously gave up 9 sacks, as we all know, and lost a game out there in a neutral site. So we've seen Carolina struggling in game ones in the past. I'm sure there's going to be a few bumps in the road in this game, as there always are. But I think it's about making sure you try to play your best brand of football. And the big thing I took away from what Shane said about this is that don't change who you are. Just be who you're always supposed to be. If you're South Carolina and you're that team, don't try to do something different than what you're already good at. Like, continue to be who you are. Because again, South Carolina is coming off a 9-win season with a lot of positive buzz, and things seem to be going pretty well. Don't change who you are. So that's the big thing I take away from that. But, I mean, going into this game, like Virginia Tech, I think people sleep on them a little bit just because they went 6-7 last year. They, obviously have a little bit of some issues, obviously, seemingly going into this year. And, new coordinators. Brent Pry seems to be on the hot seat in a lot of ways, especially if he gets off to a bad start this year. Like South Carolina, they should be winning this game no problem on Sunday, especially now that Rasul Faison is cleared. But if you play around in this game and you aren't playing at your best, you might be in a situation where this game's going down to the wire, and it might be something where Virginia Tech, a team that maybe not a lot of people are high on going this year, maybe they catch you off guard.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things, we could say it, a million times, and we say it pretty much for a key to every single game. It's so important for South Carolina to start fast in this game. And like you said, just play their brand of football. Resilience is so key in game ones of every season for every team, because as Shane said, as you said, there will be kinks. There will be things that don't go well. There will probably be a turnover or two for South Carolina. There will probably be missed tackles. There are going to be things that happen where we're sitting there on our couch or Jack in the press box and we're like, what is going on? What are you doing? Just our reminder at the beginning of the season, and I think we say this pretty much every week, it's good. South Carolina has a very talented football team, and I think that's why we're all so excited about this season. But there will come moments, and probably this weekend, where you're like, oh, wow, I wish that didn't happen. But it's game one, and you don't want to start off at your very best during game one. So we'll see how South Carolina does. Hopefully all this is wrong. Hopefully they just come out and they're amazing. But you kind of expect it from every team during week one. There are going to be maybe some struggles here and there. What I am very excited about, though, is South Carolina. I think this year, because there has been so much hype, it would frustrate me so bad when College Game Day would come on and they wouldn't pick South Carolina's games. I think South Carolina is kind of like locked in. Like, I think South Carolina is going to be a regular occurrence on the weekly picks on College Game Day. And I'm excited about that, Jack.
Yeah, I think that was the case as we kind of got into last year. Once South Carolina hosted game day against LSU, obviously, and then from there, it kind of felt like they were getting featured every single week on College Game Day with the picks. And I always love seeing that. Seeing South Carolina picked a lot of the times, and even when they are picked against, it's always fun seeing that, especially like with the Vanderbilt game last year. So, look, the hype is definitely, I think it's real and definitely warranted going into the season. Now it's just about, okay, you got to go out there and prove it. Like, people talk about you being a playoff contender and stuff. I see a lot of predictions where Carolina's winning 8, 9, 10 games, making the playoff, et cetera, et cetera. Now you got to go out there and do it. They believe they're a college football playoff team. They believe they're capable of doing so. But all that talk means so little. Talk is cheap, as they say. And so you got to go out there on the field on Sunday, get off to a good start, get the season going with a bang. Like, win this game, no problem. Leave no doubt. Sellers is a great game. Defense does their thing. They're able to do that. Special teams hopefully looks good too. They're able to do all that. That might be a lot to ask for in a week one, but if they're showing really good signs coming out of the gate, that's a really nice step in the right direction, as South Carolina does have a lot of expectations on their shoulders.
Game is at 3:00 on Sunday on ABC. No, ESPN. Sorry. ESPN. Yes. And our announcers for the game, my girl, Chris Budden, is going to be on the sidelines. So yeah. I'm excited about that. And then Bob Schusen will be play-by-play for that game. So he does great.
Luedecke providing the color commentary as well. Mm-hmm. So You got those three calling.
Yep, and that's a great crew to have. They are doing all the big games every week. So that is a top tier crew for South Carolina to have, and you would expect nothing less. I mean, this game in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and it's on Sunday. There are only a few other games on Sunday, so it's really a great chance for South Carolina to be the center of attention. And that's what I kind of like about that. I wasn't sure how I felt about the Sunday game, but now I'm like, it's good because South Carolina will be the center of attention. Great from a recruiting standpoint for the recruits to be able to lock into the game. Shane also said, speaking of recruits, they're excited about this new Nike deal, Jack. We even that dropped.
Yeah. So again, in case you missed it the other day, on Friday, South Carolina did officially reach a deal with Nike for the next 10 years, starting July 1st, 2026. South Carolina is no longer going to be an Under Armour school. They're getting the swoosh. They're getting the swoosh on their jersey, and it's going to be really exciting to see. It's a 10-year deal. Again, all the details of this contract are on GamecockCentral.com, so I'm kind of just going off memory here for right now. But 10 years, 70. Overall, it's about a $77 million deal when you look at the incentives and the $500,000 they're going to be getting in cash every single year, which will equal out to $5 million over that 10-year span. They're getting like 15 or 25% in retail sales, whatever they sell in merchandise and all that. So that's really good there. And then as far as what this means for South Carolina, players were asked about it. Shane was asked about it. There's a lot of excitement about South Carolina becoming a Nike school, especially from recruits. That's something that Shane did mention. It's come up in recruiting meetings with players and stuff that are looking to come to South Carolina. Not everyone loves Under Armour, but people love Nike. That's like when you think of sports apparel logos, what do you think of? You think of the swoosh. And a lot of people seem to be really, really excited about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this looks like for the program next year. And it goes across all sports. You have like women's basketball getting some stuff with Asia Wilson's brand and stuff, her partnership with Nike. So that's going to be cool. Like there's probably going to be like a whole new look to the uniforms potentially. Like it's going to be super awesome to see.
Well, it was big news. And I know a lot of people are excited about that. A lot of people love Nike apparel. And yes, I mean, Nike is Nike. So South Carolina is going to be looking fresh in some new threads next year. A lot has happened. It has been an exciting week, not just the Nike news. Congratulations, Spencer Rattler, Kai Kroger too, but congrats to Spencer Rattler. We're super excited for him. I mean, you just talk about recruiting, and Wes and I obviously talk about this more in depth on the recruiting rundown, but just the impact that this kind of news can have for South Carolina still. Like people probably think, oh, that's great. Spencer went to South Carolina. We're super happy for him. But when you think about it, I mean, being able to say, yeah, Spencer Rattler, quarterback at South Carolina, is now the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. I mean, that's a big deal. So a lot of people, recruits especially, see that, and that I think even makes them more so intrigued to come to South Carolina. So congratulations, Spencer Rattler. He is great. I mean, he was so awesome to work with at South Carolina, and we obviously enjoyed having him as a Gamecock so much. So just to see someone like that who was just such a nice person, it's really great to see.
Absolutely. And again, there's some other updates in the NFL with cut day and stuff. We have that story on Gamecock Central with the guys who made the team, the guys who got cut, all that sort of stuff. Did see today, Rocket Sanders, who got cut by the Chargers yesterday, did get picked up by the Cleveland Browns. So that's good. They obviously need bodies in that running back room. And then I saw Dale Von Campbell got picked up by the Carolina Panthers. So make that I don't even know how many Gamecocks that is with the Panthers at this point, but it's a handful. So congrats to those guys. Shane was super excited to see that so many guys got picked up. He also did mention that he spoke to pretty much all but I think he said all but one guy from yesterday of the guys who got cut. All of them are supposed to be picked up on their practice squads with the NFL teams they're with. So that's really good to see.
Good. Love to see that. Yeah, lots of Gamecocks over across the street at Bank of America Stadium. So that's great. The pipeline from South Carolina right here to Charlotte, not too far of a drive. And a lot of people that live here in Charlotte are big South Carolina fans, so they can cheer on all the Gamecocks that are playing for the Carolina Panthers. Okay, Jack, before we get out of here, we will have, by the way, Shameless plug. We'll talk about our thoughts for this weekend, college football as a whole. We'll have our picks over on GamecockCentral.com. That goes out what, Saturday morning or Friday afternoon?
It's going to go out Friday afternoon, 2:30. Staff picks.
Okay.
We will have that out on GamecockCentral.com.
Yeah, so a lot of great games this weekend. Ohio State, Texas, marquee matchup of the weekend. Certainly looking forward to that one, amongst others. And Jack, you and I, this is a great time to say this, we are bringing back Before the Sandstorm. So we will have Before the Sandstorm live for all of you on Friday, where we give you a quick rundown of what we're expecting for the weekend. So we'll talk more about this matchup between South Carolina and Virginia Tech. A lot of people were asking about it, and we're like, yep, let's make it happen. So that is coming back this Friday. So I guess I'll actually hold off. I'll wait until Friday to ask you your final prediction for
Good idea.
And we'll talk about that during Before the Sandstorm. So go ahead and mark your calendars. That will be
11:15. The only reason the time is so specific, we're gonna eventually get a normal time figured out. Again, Kendall's going to Nashville this weekend, so that's busy with her. So we're figuring out time there. And then I'm off of radio at 11. So I come back over to my apartment. It's about 11:15 by that point. So we're going with the obscure time for this week. We're going to get a normal time locked in moving forward, though. So we'll definitely post that and share that and talk about it on here when we do get that in the future.
Yes, we are very excited. I will be in Nashville, so live from the Music City, and Jack will be getting ready to go to Atlanta. So we'll talk about score predictions, final thoughts, everything else on Before the Sandstorm this Friday, 11:15 Eastern. Join us there. Please do. We're so excited about bringing this back. And yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up here today. Sorry that Shane Beamer didn't talk live, but
maybe next time.
Head over to GamecockCentral.com, South Carolina Athletics YouTube page, and that full video from earlier today when he spoke to the media at 1 o'clock will be available. Jack, thanks so much for your time.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it has been fun. So yeah, head over to Central. We'll have, again, like I said, sorry about Shane. We could not get him on. Again, the title maybe was a little misleading, but I didn't think about that in the moment. Again, it seems normal to me, like, hey, Shane Beamer's previewing Virginia Tech. So, but again, we will have that full transcript over on GamecockCentral.com later on today. Until then, we will have the live updates that are already posted on there for you to go ahead and check out in the meantime.
Perfect. All right, everybody. It is game week. Next week, when we're back on GC Live, we'll actually have a game to analyze and a game to discuss, which I can't wait for that too. But until then, we are counting down the days, the hours, the minutes, the seconds until 3 o'clock this Sunday. South Carolina, Virginia Tech in Atlanta, Georgia at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, opening up the 2025 college football season. It is here, everybody, and we can't wait to spend this season with all of you. So for Jack Veltri, I am Kendall Smith. This has been GC Live here on Gamecock Central, and we'll see you on Friday, 11:15, before the Sandstorm is back, baby. We'll see you then.